Well, fantastic day to one and all. It looks like I'm live. It doesn't look like the green screen is working. That's okay. Now you know I have a green screen. It is day two, COP29. I'm not there. I'm sending out invitations for people to join me in this live broadcast. You know, COP29 is the 29th annual, and it started, the United Nations started it to try to educate people on climate change. They've done a lot of great things. They need to do more. I'm sending out right now invitations to my groups to maybe call in and discuss um, climate change. You know, it's a natural occurrence, but mankind is contributing to it, obviously. And I've got a couple hundred groups I'm be sending it out to while I do this live. I'm enjoying a cup of coffee. It is, let's see, it's 7:20 in the morning in here in Antigua, Guatemala. Let me take a look at my world clock. Tell you what time it is. It is in Baku, Azerbaijan. I should get a couple more phones working here. It is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which means it's cocktail time at the Innovation Zone. If they have that again, hopefully I'll find out if they have the Innovation Zone. That was very cool. That to me, because in COP27 I was a participant, and I did a speech. I met so many fantastic people. It was really pretty incredible. See if I can get a better shot with the green screen there. And free cocktails. I mean, you couldn't beat that. I had so much fun at COP27. It was in Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt, and I met the most amazing people with the most amazing inventions. This place, I'm just really bummed I'm not there because it's probably the same type of individuals with great things going on. I'm going to try to do a couple things at once here, multitasking. You know, all my videos on YouTube have been one take wonders. I don't go live too often, but I do want to do something here. Let me see, go to YouTube. I'm trying to think what to do here. I want to read you some things from COP27, which was pretty cool, that I learned this morning. A lot of people don't know COP27. A lot of people don't know a lot of things, you know, and that's a shame. The more you know, one of my sayings, the more you know, the easier your life's going to be, and the more valuable you're going to be to others. Okay. It's called the Conference of the Parties, and it was the UN established it a long time ago. Oh, they've got a live broadcast going now. Let's see what's going on live in Azerbaijan. Let's see if we can go to that. Live from Azerbaijan. Okay, it's a foreign language. You know, you got all the nations, not all the nations, but I think 130 of them. There are, let me get out of that. I like to hear English better. The translation's kind of tough. 40,000 people. That's a lot of people concerned about climate change. I mean, the whole world should be concerned. Again, it's not mankind's fault. We're contributing to it, certainly. But climate change has occurred throughout the history of the planet. Eons. They've even had pole shifts. So yeah, just world leaders pose for family photo. I love that. COP29. That's let me see if I can show you that. Gotta have an ad every time, of course, in YouTube, which is cool. YouTube is amazing. There you go. World leaders. There's the family photo. All concerned. I'll blur you. There you have it. I'm hoping some ambassadors call in to talk about it. I've got a number of ambassadors over there. Um, one of our newest ambassadors is Vida, who I met here. I was introduced by her husband, who I met here in Antigua. And she's a journalist. She did an amazing documentary on Guatemala, the biodiversity here. And she left yesterday with two 12-hour layovers. That's a long trip to go there. And she's with an entourage that was sent by the Ministry of Environment of Guatemala. They didn't send me. I don't know why. What are they thinking? But so she's not even there yet, I don't think. Or maybe she is, because it was yesterday. Two 12-hour layovers plus the time difference. So she's over there. I've got Johan, who is the CEO of 195in365.com, an ambitious goal to go around the world in 365 days, visiting all 195 countries. And it's a youth, appealing to the youth, of course. That's our future, to get committed to solving the issues. And this is a great conference because it's got so many fantastic inventions. Just recycling is a whole slew, hundreds and hundreds of vendors out there. And I remember I saw straws, which everyone loves straws, made out of stone, straws made out of hay. They make the most amazing products from trash. And I make a lot of stuff from trash. I'm an eco artist. I take trash and I try to make beautiful things. Let me grab one little thing real quick. This is, they have these stones that were 500 years old that are in the roads, the streets, the avenues here in Antigua. So I collect them and I put "Be Kind" on them usually. But this one, see the little guys up there? Those are the Guatemalan worry dolls. Supposedly you take one of these dolls and you put it, can you see it okay? You put it under your pillow at night and your worries go away. So I wrote one that says get high on love and 10,000 feet. So that's a cute little thing. I used to put these, take the stone, paint them yellow and put "Be Kind" on it. Maybe say amable and put them around town and they would always disappear. And sometimes they reappear in different places, which was kind of cool. But people take them home for souvenirs. I've been encouraging the world to make "Be Kind" signs. They are all over the world because in Belize, I made a couple hundred of them and nailed them to, so they didn't get stolen. I nailed them to the street posts there, the lamp posts, telephone poles. And they became a tourist attraction. People would take pictures and they just loved them and they started buying them. So not from me because I give them away, but I can encourage the local to make them. And he's making not a living, but he's making money. Maybe he's making a living selling these things. And I know that they're all over the world because he tells me that one went to Dallas, one went to Azerbaijan. They go all over the world. And I'm happy because those two words save the planet. Be kind. Now, if you're watching this, whenever you watch it, maybe 5 years from now, and you've just seen it, "Be kind" are two words that save the planet. And I've created, it was an idea, then it became a vision and a dream and a challenge and a philosophy, which turned into a nonprofit, which turned into a mission, which is now, I call it the Kindness Revolution. And it's 3 commitments to kindness. I made it real simple for human beings. 3 commitments. I don't say simple commitments. I say commitments. And if you follow these 3 commitments, you will look better, feel better, live longer, be happier, be more successful, and make the world a better place. 3 commitments. And I got children all over the world that are ambassadors. And after months later, I run into them and they can remember the 3 commitments, as you will when I tell you to them. The first commitment, the hardest commitment, and the most important commitment in your life is to be kind to yourself, to love yourself, to respect yourself and accept as you are. And if you love yourself, someone will love you. But no one's going to love you if you don't love yourself. So it's really important that you come first. Your happiness comes first. I actually have a podcast now. It's called The Complete Guide to Happiness on YouTube. So check that out. And I interview my ambassadors. And at this rate, I'm doing one a week. It's only going to take a couple hundred years, but they all have fantastic stories. They're all fantastic human beings, and are all in commonality in wanting to spread kindness, to be kind. So the first commitment was to be kind to yourself. And I can go on for an hour on how and why you should be kind to yourself. It's eating healthy, exercising, thinking positively, meditating, growing a garden. There's all kinds of things you can do to make yourself happy. Create, write songs, sing, dance, lots of things to make you happy, because you come first. And the analogy of that is when you're on an airplane, they say when the oxygen mask drops, put it on first and then help others. Because if you're not live, well, or happy, you can't be of service to your God, to your country, to your family, to your company, to yourself, to anybody or anything, especially your passions. So you come first. We all down for that? Now, if you like what I'm hearing, please text me and tell me your first name only, because I think everyone should call one another by their first names. Your city, your country, and if you'd like to tell me what you do, that's fantastic. Maybe I'll interview you. To plus 502-5531-8892. You got that down. It'll be in the description. Second commitment, be kind to all others. It's the golden rule. If you treat everyone, if everyone treats you like you treat everyone, which hopefully you treat everyone well and kind, it'll be a fantastic world. You won't get stabbed and raped and killed and molested and teased and bullied and lied to and cheated from, and we won't have wars. If everyone's kind, we won't have wars. And we've had wars since mankind was on the planet. I picked up a Bible in Egypt. I'll never forget this, because I don't read the Bible. Some people do.
President of UAE.
Sorry about
His
that.
Highness.
President of UAE. That's who I want to meet. So I picked up this Bible. I opened it up, middle of the book, looked over to the left side, because that's where the paragraph started. And it said, verbatim, it said this. It said, "It was spring, the time when kings go off to war. Honey, the weather's good, let's go." Come on, people. Really? I said, no, I'm not going to read that anymore, that book. So anyway, so that's the second commitment. Be kind to all others. Do random acts of kindness. Say kind words like, "Have a fantastic day. You look fantastic. Fantastic job." The word fantastic makes you smile, which releases stress, anxiety, and depression. Makes you look and feel fantastic. Smile. Everyone looks better with a smile. I walk down the streets here in Antigua and around the world, and I try to say it in their language. And in Spanish, it's "Que tengas un día fantástico," to total strangers, because I connect eyes with everybody I look at and I smile. And if I connect eyes and they smile at me, I say "Que tengas un día fantástico," and their faces light up. Their eyes get wider. They say "Igualmente, muchas gracias," which is same to you. Thank you very much. And I might have just made their day. And it wasn't a very little effort to do that. And if everyone says hello, the big cities, I'm from Los Angeles, and the big cities, New York, Chicago, Tokyo, they're like rats in a rat race, and they have blinders on like a horse, and they sit next to people in a subway or a bus or on an airplane, and they don't talk to them. It's sad. There's no communication. Here's the communication, blah, 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 blah. My goodness, it's terrible. So I did want to read some things about, and the third commitment. And that's why I'm having this show today. Be kind to Mother Earth. Use less water. Use less electricity. Buy less. Recycle. Repurpose. Reformat. Take trash and make beautiful things out of it. Like they do with banana peels. They make great things. And they make clothes out of plastic now. It's pretty amazing what's going on in the world. There's a lot of fantastic people out there. And there's a lot of evil warmongers. And just horrible people that are taught from childhood that killing is good. Believe it or not, I've seen it on video. So I'm going to try to read something from COP29. I got it on the computer earlier, but I don't know how to do that split screen yet. Maybe you could teach me. I don't know if anyone's watching or not, but somebody might watch this in a year or so. So we go to COP29. COP29. I did send out a blurb to people. We'll see what happens. What I liked about it is it was like a little dissertation. COP29 begins in Baku. I actually signed up to an app for it. I'm not sure how we can do this. You can see how prepared I am. World leaders deliver fantastic news. There's a lot of live shit going on right now. What is this going on?
Will shape the Earth's future.
Oh, listen to this. Oh, timing. It's all about timing.
It's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Geraldo Alckmin, Vice President of Brazil.
Vice President of Brazil. I loved Brazil. I used to be a Portuguese dubber in Brazil. So what do you have to say?
Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the pathway and the diplomatic efforts of the Climate Convention, which began in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, now bring us
92.
to Baku in Azerbaijan for COP29. Each step along this path represents both progress and hesitations of multilateralism in the task of achieving common environmental goals and in our ability to rise to the challenges. The Baku Conference aims to define the new climate finance target. The new financial target must be ambitious in a way as to limit the temperature increase to
Looking for growth? Join a team that pushes you to learn, grow, and succeed. Achieved during COP28, in particular about energy and forests.
the implementation of historic
Brazil is recognized.
I did that so
as an
you can listen to that,
environmental
and I can still take calls here.
but also a leader in food security. We have the largest tropical forest in the whole wide world. We have the cleanest energy matrix among the major economies. Efficient and green agriculture. And above all, we are aware and committed to the fact that there is no future without sustainability. We are implementing the climate plan, which will serve as a guide for Brazilian climate policy until 2035. We have also signed the Pact for Ecological Transformation between the three branches of government of Brazil, with the support of which is fundamental the participation of civil society. We need concrete measures at the right pace. I will have the honor of presenting at the COP29 Brazil's NDC. Our target reflects our highest ambition to reduce emissions by up to 67% by 2035 compared to the year of 2005. Certainly ambitious, but also feasible. To do this, however, we will need to work together to ensure the appropriate conditions and means of implementation. Our NDC is much more than simply an emissions reduction target for 2035. It reflects the vision of a country that looks to the future and is determined to be a protagonist in the new global economy with renewable energy, fighting inequality, and commitment to sustainable development. The success of COP29 is fundamental to the success of COP30, which we are proud to host in Belém, in Brazil, and also for the global response to climate change. Failure to act now will cost us dearly later. On behalf of President Lula, I hope to see you next year in Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Philip Isidore Mapango, Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, here we are yet for another COP, dubbed as a Finance COP, where we need to work together in solidarity for a green world. We meet at a time when the greenhouse gas emissions and temperatures are rising to record-breaking levels with dire consequences, particularly to developing countries. Climate change is not a distant concern, but a current reality. The last few weeks have seen catastrophic flooding in Spain, devastating fires in the Amazon, and torrential rains displacing millions in South Asia. My country has also not been spared by such catastrophic events, and they are costing us 2 to 3% of our GDP lost annually. While a total of $19.2 billion will be needed by 2030 to deliver on our NDCs, so far only about $500 million have been received, necessitating use of our own internal resources at the expense of other development projects and increasing our debt burden. And this scenario is now the order of the day across Africa. And this is obviously inappropriate and unethical for adaptation, loss, damage, and for Africa that never caused this problem. Since Copenhagen, the promise of real finance has been elusive. The finance COP, therefore, must move from empty rhetoric and come up with bold decisions that address the financing needs of countries corresponding to the urgency of the climate crisis. We look forward to a fit-for-purpose new collective quantified goal to replace the $100 billion goal agreed in 2009. This is indeed an opportunity to drive systemic change in climate finance, because what will be agreed will inform climate action or inaction for years to come. Climate finance is about responsibility and justice as agreed, and therefore COP29 must also maintain the momentum on loss and damage so that the fund does not become an empty shell, negating the gains made last year at COP28 in Dubai. Excellencies, Tanzania remains committed to contribute to global efforts to combat climate change. We are using own resources on projects that foster development and those that supply clean energy, environmentally friendly transportation systems, improved early warning systems, and waste management. In addition, Tanzania has a total area of 48.1 million hectares of forest reserves, with an estimated carbon storage potential equivalent to
I'm watching myself now.
of the world's
It's
total
actually,
carbon.
I was just checking to make sure it's streaming.
Also, Tanzania has territorial sea area covering 64,500
Fantastic technology.
square
Love it.
kilometers, which provide a big potential for blue economy. We are committed to continue conserving these critical marine and forest ecosystems. Indeed, we are already acting in solidarity for a green world, even with our own meager resources. Yet the challenge we are facing is that carbon markets are not yet fully defined, and thus denying our countries the payments they deserve. There is lack of information and capacity to participate gainfully in carbon markets. To conclude,
Text me who's there. Is that Stafford?
We cannot talk about a just transition
Directors,
without
admin,
focusing on clean cooking.
life,
That matters
Arizona,
greatly to the majority
Cuba,
of Africans. About
teachers.
900 million people in Africa still cook using biomass fuels, resulting into deforestation, loss of carbon sinks, and deaths due to smoke-related diseases. For this reason, my president, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, decided to champion clean cooking on the African continent, and we call on COP29 to take up clean cooking as one of the priority areas under just transition and mitigation finance discussions. As a show of leadership, Tanzania is implementing the clean cooking strategy to ensure the availability of clean, safe, and affordable cooking energy to about 80% of households by 2034, and has launched a Pan-African Women Clean Cooking Support Program that requires financial support of about $4 billion annually by 2030 to transform the continent with clean cooking solutions.
So we're listening to world leaders delivering speeches. World leaders taking their time.
It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Tani Moko, elect Kone, Vice President of Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Excellency, you have the floor.
We have a group there. I'm in 34 countries. Not I'm in. Our movement is in 34 countries in Africa. Love Africa. I plan on touring Africa. Let's listen to the Vice President.
Excellence, Mesdames et
President, ladies and gentlemen, our meeting is being held at a time when the climate crisis has reached an unprecedented level. The last United Nations climate report is alarming. Our planet is heating at a worrying pace, which means that the objective of 1.5 Celsius is unreachable or unlikely to be reached. We are now at a decisive juncture, and we must take rapid and collective action to tackle climate challenges which are increasingly disruptive. No country, I must add, is spared. In Côte d'Ivoire, we have taken bold initiatives, and without them, we could have a 13% drop in our GDP by 2050, and almost 2 million of our people would dip into poverty. It is clear that the economic, social, and health consequences are inevitable if we stand without doing anything. And it's for this reason that our President Alassane Ouattara has led strong measures that confirm our commitment to the Paris Agreement. This year, we concluded with the IMF a facility for sustainability and resilience, and along with other partners, we have, including the World Bank, we have been looking into more innovative financing measures. We have also strengthened governance, and we have set up a national commission for climate change and a carbon market bureau. We also adopted a draft law on climate. Today, Côte d'Ivoire stands ready to join the international carbon market with emission reductions linked to the conservation of our forests. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we must face the facts. Climate disasters, as well as the rapid biodiversity loss, are threatening our common future. Given the gravity of this situation, Côte d'Ivoire calls for us to stand by our COP28 commitments and the previous conferences as well, especially our pledge to fund the Loss and Damage Fund and to mobilize resources from Africa, mobilized by developed countries for Africa to tackle climate change. But beyond that, the major economies must drastically reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to facilitate access to...
It's what I've been saying. We need to take accountability for our actions by reducing as individuals, not just companies.
Countries with strategic natural resources must have enough resources to facilitate their energy transition without going into further debt. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference must more than ever meet the expectations of the people across the world, and to this end, it is a pressing need on developed countries to take climate action. We must come up with a more ambitious, They must have a more ambitious program for developing countries, and they must take into account the legitimate and specific needs of the more vulnerable regions. The heavy toll paid by our populations because of increasingly violent climate disasters means that we must come to urgent agreement on financing so that we can have lasting solutions and ensure that this COP29
Text me or call me on my phone, 502-5531-8892. Let's discuss what's on your mind.
protecting our
Yeah.
planet and ensuring a sustainable future for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Hamid Abdullah Afi Didi, Vice President of the Seychelles. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege to stand in front of you and to present the position of Seychelles. Tiny group of islands of only 100,000 people, 115 islands. Most people live on about 3. Our land area is about 455 square kilometers. This is less than the size of Munich in Germany. But our maritime area is 1.374 million square kilometers. This is the size of France and Turkey put together. So 100,000 people managing a huge maritime space the size of France and Turkey. What are we doing in Seychelles to protect the environment and to protect the planet? Madam Chair, the UN has set all of us countries goals that we have to protect 30% of our land, fresh water, and our oceans by 2030. 30%. Of our little amount of land, we've protected half already. Of that huge expanse of sea that we have, we've already protected 32%. In other words, we have achieved the UN 30 by 30 4 years ago. So the Seychelles has performed. And in fact, of the sea area that we're protecting, there's an area called Saïd de Mala, which is the size of Switzerland. And it's actually a seagrass meadow. What does it do? It absorbs carbon emission. So our output, we emit about 600,000 tons, but our seagrass meadow absorbs 18 million tons. So in other words, for every ton that we put out, we absorb 30 tons from the rest of the world. Having done all of that, what do we find? Rising sea level. It's threatening our port, our airport, our housing infrastructure, our fuel farm, our power station, our courts. Everything is being threatened. We have to relocate our houses. We have to relocate infrastructure. It may cost us $15 to $20 million to relocate houses, $15 to $20 million to relocate infrastructure. Where will we get the money for this? Well, there's been a lot of pledges through COP28, 27, 26, now 29, and Adaptation Fund, the Loss and Damage Fund, $700 million, but the mechanisms aren't clear. What Seychelles is
Call me.
asking, COP29, let's
Text
make this
me.
a resolution.
Text here.
We shall ask.
Tell me how climate change is affecting you. We're listening to world leaders right now.
Be decided. Just like the gong just went now, if this could have been done every time it made a boom, we could have released $1 million. I think this afternoon Seychelles would have had all the money that it needed to restore a lot of its damaged environment. So I say to COP29, and I say to the world, let us do all we can to put the words into action. There are countries punching way above their weight. Seychelles is doing its best to help the world. Please help us. Let's make these promises become a reality. Thank you very much.
I like that they're giving very short speeches. I think that's real important because people's attention span is very low.
Excellency, Miss Esperanza Maria Ecuador Francisco de Costa, Vice President of Angola. Your Excellency.
Angola.
Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, it is with the highest honor that I address the distinguished delegations present at this, the 29th Conference of the Parties, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Conveying the greetings of His Excellency João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, whom I have the honor to express our gratitude to represent at this event. Taking this opportunity, allow me to express our gratitude to His Excellency Ilham Aliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, for the hospitality extended us since the arrival of our delegation in this beautiful city of Baku. I also commend the Secretariat for the hard work and dialogues maintained, which have allowed us to bring closer the importance of the global milestones attained since the signing of the Paris Agreement and previous conferences. Each conference of the parties is an opportunity to protect the progress achieved at COP20 and turn the commitments made into concrete actions. We will only be able to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement if all countries have the means to accelerate climate change, mitigation, and adaptation measures. We consider it essential to make greater efforts to rapidly increase adaptation financing and ensure that international carbon markets do work for everyone. Create mechanisms to monitor and ensure that pledged funds are dispersed, as well as fully operationalize the loss and damage fund, identifying simplified and efficient access mechanisms for financing to developing countries which are the most affected by climate impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Angola, like other countries in the African region, has been...
Thanks for tuning in. We're listening to world leaders address the world on climate change. And I'd be happy to talk to you if you want to text, or I don't know if you can phone in on this line. They come in, they go out. What can you do?
Mainstreaming climate change issues into national policies, reflecting a comprehensive commitment of Angola to environmental sustainability. And we also share data to respond to different problems linked to climate change, including forced migrations. Drought and desertification in the southwest of Angola continue to be the main concern of the government, as they have negatively impacted communities and development programs. Angola continues to implement the program to combat the effects of drought in the southern region of Angola by building new dams, and we aim to promote agricultural development, strengthen food security, and provide greater resilience to communities. On the other hand, the National Plan for Adaptation to Climate Change is being developed, and our 2025 NDC is under review, focusing on the transport and energy sectors. We would like to highlight efforts aimed at strengthening the national energy matrix with renewable energy, currently accounting for 66% of energy from photovoltaic and hydropower projects, expected to scale to 72% by the end of 2027. This reflects our commitment to address pollution, emissions reduction, and to promote a transition to a low carbon economy. We consider that the enhancement of forests in a new vision will benefit the creation of green jobs so that youths and communities can be included in the management of forest ecosystems. We continue to make efforts to increase terrestrial conservation areas, and we have started a vast program to identify ecologically significant marine zones that will allow the creation of a network of marine protected areas, which are key factors in the development of the blue economy. Thus, we have devised differentiated strategies, programs, and projects to intensify global commitments to climate goals while simultaneously ensuring the improvement of living conditions for our populations, reducing poverty, and equally fostering an environment of harmony in the Southern African region through fruitful cooperation by shared management of transboundary water resources. Ladies and gentlemen, our goals cannot be achieved amidst tensions and conflicts arising in the international context. We therefore need to increase our commitments to stability and to the Pact for the Future We Want, adopted at the United Nations Summit to build a better future and reduce the climate crisis, hunger, and poverty, and promote the improvement of food systems, a low emission economy, gender equity, education, innovation, and peace as new decisions and indeed a legacy for future generations. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, I wrote a speech for the United Nations that I hope one day I'll be able to deliver.
It's my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Abdallah Alamini Bazwa, Vice Chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council of Yemen. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
فخامة الرئيس الهام علي رئيس جمهورية أذربيجان.
Your Excellency, President Aliyev, President of Azerbaijan, ladies and gentlemen, heads of government, Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace of God be with you. First of all, I would like to express my deepest thanks to the government of Azerbaijan for the warm welcome and excellent organization of this major UN conference, which is indeed a fine opportunity to bolster international cooperation to combat climate change, which today poses a threat to humanity.
Yes, it does.
We are in Baku with the heavy responsibility of protecting our planet. We are convening in this room to protect our planet, our common cradle, given the dangers posed by climate change. Many have already spoken from this podium, and I would like to take this opportunity to refer to the risks facing Yemen. Yemen is experiencing major crises, humanitarian, security-related, and economic, among many others, which are compounded by climate change through things like drought, heat waves, and the increase in sea levels, not to mention many cyclones. And the consequences are becoming ever graver, given the humanitarian situation, which is especially vulnerable because of a war which has been ongoing for 10 years because of the involvement of militias supported by Iran. A war which has destroyed infrastructure and displaced thousands of Yemenis and destroyed property.
This is Yemen.
Killed people and destroyed the sources of life.
Bad things happening there. Humanitarian crisis.
And there are constant threats to oil tankers sailing in the Red Sea. It's a war which undermines our efforts, which should, in principle, be geared to mitigating the consequences of climate change. A war which has driven many thousands into exile. Ladies and gentlemen, the Yemeni government today is standing up to these challenges with all its strength and all its resources to honor its commitments to protect the lives and dignity of Yemeni citizens in the face of terrorist groups and their followers. Our government is resolved to opt for a trailblazing strategic policy to combat climate change and to incorporate this in a comprehensive strategy, relying on capacity building and more sustainable policies, which will allow us better to deal with the need to mitigate climate change while bolstering the resilience of local communities vis-à-vis disasters, especially in the coastal areas. This is based on our sincere belief that investing to combat climate change can only strengthen peace and stability. And in conclusion, on behalf of the people of Yemen, I would like to salute Saudi Arabia and the UAE, fraternal countries who have invested hugely in our capacity to deal with climate change. And we expect similar from the international community. Madam Chair, protecting
Well, I am in 142 countries, so it's important I listen to the all world leaders. They all need to hear about the 3 commitments to kindness.
Must mean vanquishing war and putting an end to war. First and foremost, the Israeli aggression against Gaza, which must be brought to an end because it's a crime against life. And we restate our solidarity with all countries fighting for their freedom and justice, first and foremost, the Palestinian people who've been so patient and resolute in seeking their dignity and sovereign independence. And we support the conclusions yesterday of the Riyadh summit of the Arab League and the International Islamic Conference organization. It is vital to protect planet Earth. It's a collective responsibility.
Vital to protect planet Earth, Mother Earth.
Requires better cooperation from all of us to tackle these challenges. It doesn't mean investing in the present. It means investing in the future as well. And from this COP, we aspire to the taking of decisions which may create a transition to a better future and a more stable and prosperous future.
Welcome His Excellency Mr. Michael Biscuit Usi, Vice President of Malawi.
Malawi, we have a group in Malawi.
Madam Chair, Your Excellencies, I bring to you greetings from the President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Magafe Chakwera, and the people of Malawi. It is an honor for me to join you here today in Baku at this COP29 summit. This gathering is a powerful reminder of our collective duty. The duty is to secure a healthy, resilient, and sustainable planet for generations to come. Your Excellencies, I'm also profoundly honored that at this conference, I'm wearing 2 hats, representing my country, Malawi, as well as the voices of 45 other nations in the least developed countries.
Okay, well, I've invited pretty much all my groups. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got something to do.
Abstraction. We see its effects firsthand, and we feel its impact each day. Devastating floods, prolonged droughts.
I wish I knew how to put the background on.
Weather patterns continue to disrupt lives, destabilize livelihoods, and threaten the well-being of future generations. For a country like Malawi, the consequences are not only economic, but also deeply inhumane. The catastrophe comprises food security, public health, and infrastructure development, exacerbates poverty and undermine our hard-won development gains. However, in all this hardship and obstacles we are facing, Malawi remains steadfast in its commitment to climate action. Yes, as we said, we are a small country with a big heart.
Small country with a big heart.
Surmount our hardships. Through our national determined contributions, We have committed to ambitious targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, enhancing climate resilience, and transitioning to sustainable energy sources. Yes, with aggregate resources and partnerships, we believe these targets can transform our communities, strengthen food security, and empower our people to thrive in the face of climate changes. Your Excellencies, like I said earlier, that I am also speaking on behalf of all these developed countries. I would like to make the voice louder that the hour for change is now. COP29 is not simply a conference, it is a call to action, a defining moment for our collective future. This conference follows a landmark decision and a global stake we made last year in Dubai, which reinforced that we must do more and we must do it with great resolve. As the LC's community, we call upon all the parties to implement the recommendations from the global stock tech, particularly enhancing climate finance, accelerating clean energy transitions. We must collectively accelerate our transition to renewable energy and reduce dependency on fossil fuels. Strengthening adaptation, prioritizing loss and damage. This fund must be designed to directly benefit those who have suffered the most and with flexibility to meet the specific needs to each affected nation. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Jeremiah Kapang Young, Vice President of Liberia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam President, Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Liberia congratulates the government and people of Azerbaijan for assuming the presidency of COP29.
Liberia, I don't have that country. See, we're in 142 countries. We still have 50 to go.
President of the Republic of Liberia. Madam President, Excellency,
we might be in Liberia.
Here in Baku to deliberate on issues of climate change and global challenges that continue to undermine national development. This year, we witnessed most of our lowlands being flooded, giving rise to loss of lives, destruction of property, and displacement of people. This is why COP29 must set the basis for loss and damage fund. We need a simple but accountable process that avoids unnecessary bureaucracy. Liberia calls for a stronger cooperative action and decision on Article 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8 at COP29, consistent with the African Group position in operationalizing carbon market and non-carbon credit mechanism. In 2021, Liberia formulated an ambitious second-generation nationally determined contribution committing to reduce greenhouse gas by 64% based on adequate financing. Excellency, I am pleased to inform this summit that Liberia will further increase our climate ambition during the formulation of the country's third-generation NDC, taking into consideration biodiversity protection, including the conservation of mangroves, freshwater ecosystem service, child rights, human mobility, and others. This means the issue of climate finance will be an integral part of the country's third-generation NDC. Therefore, I call on developed countries to increase their contribution in fulfilling the new collective quantified goal on climate financing. Madam President, Excellency, Liberia has established a national climate laboratory at the University of Liberia. This learning center is intended to build the human resource of the country in addressing climate challenges at the national level. To conclude, humanity has faced numerous problems in the past, but it is collective efforts that have kept us going. This is our time. If we hold together and speak with one voice, holding each other accountable, In a fair and equitable manner, we will fight the nightmare of climate change and global warming, and we will succeed. I thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Prosper Bazuma Banza, Vice President of Burundi. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
I send out motivational quotes every day. I'm sending one out today on climate change.
Excellence,
Just so you know, I'm not ignoring you.
President of COP29, heads of state and government,
And Dr. Fantastic.
distinguished heads of delegation, it is an honor and a true pleasure for me to address you on behalf of our President and head of the government of Burundi.
Burundi.
Such a
We have a
crucial
group in
meeting as
Burundi.
COP29. But at the very outset, allow me to rightly commend the warm welcome that we have received. I did myself, as did my delegation, from the government of Azerbaijan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Burundi is a country of 1,000 green hills, of savannas and forests, is, however, being confronted by the impacts of climate change like other countries in the world. This in our country takes the form of heavy rains and periods of dry seasons that have become longer and longer. Burundi is strongly committed, alongside countries that are signatories to the Paris Agreement, through the NDC document at our national level and the National Development Plan of Burundi 2018 to 2027. Through this document, the government of Burundi aims for ecosystems to adapt naturally to climate change. Priority actions for adaptation and mitigation to the impacts of climate change are included in all policies and programs through a multi-sectoral approach.
Give them a call. Isn't that great?
And here, if I may,
How do I answer it
I'd
now?
like to mention a program the implementation of reforestation throughout the country. This is a vast national program of tree planting.
Fantastic day.
And in French, this is called, in Burundi,
Hello, Juba.
Yes.
a greener country.
What's going on in Juba?
To ensure better operationalization and effectiveness of this program.
For the meeting, you are alive or not?
Actually, I am streaming right now from Baku Azerbaijan, a little program. Your name's not showing up here.
Yes, I want to be in the meet.
Okay, it's on YouTube. Let me.
Yes.
Are you available in like an hour?
1 hour. Yes, I will be available. Yes.
Okay, we had a scheduled interview. Yes.
Interview.
Did we have a scheduled interview or no?
Yes, according to your message, it is written that we have to put our head together or our mind together on the issue of climate change.
Okay, let's do that now. Let's do that now. We're live on YouTube. What is your first name?
W-U-O-N.
Whoa, and you're calling from Juba?
Yes, I'm from Juba, South Sudan.
I guess in Azerbaijan? What country? What country are you calling from?
South Sudan, South Sudan.
South Sudan. Fantastic. What city in South Sudan?
Juba.
Juba. Oh yeah, Juba, Juba, right? So wow, I believe you're ambassador number 9,719. Welcome to Be Fantastic International. What do you do in Juba?
I'm a former minister.
Okay, and how would you address?
Former minister for youth and sport.
That's fantastic. How would you address climate change? What's your solution?
About the issue of climate change.
Yes.
It has affected a lot of lives in my constituency here. It has affected the farms, animal farming, the cropping. You cultivate, then the water can come a lot and get the whole of cultivations. So this is how we are suffering. Climate change also affecting now the abortions. The women and the cows are making too much abortion because of the too much climate change.
Well, my solution is that if individuals were to take accountability for their actions by using less water, using less electricity, driving less, using less of everything, we would help curb climate change. But you must agree, Waul, that it's a natural course of our planet, and naturally we have climate change, correct?
Yes.
But I believe our third commitment to kindness is be kind to our Mother Earth. And individuals, there's 8 billion of us. If 8 billion of us use less of everything, that will help. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So yeah, there's some really bad situations around the world. You know, I truly believe that our 3 commitments to kindness: be kind to yourself, be kind to others, treating people with kindness, and being kind to Mother Earth solves all the problems. And that's my mission, is to teach the children of South Sudan and around the world to love themselves, to love one another, and to love our planet. Can you help me with that?
Okay.
How can I address your country?
It is in African continent.
I know. I have 34 countries in Africa that follow my philosophy, the Be Fantastic philosophy, the 3 commitments to kindness. How do you have connections to the government of South Sudan?
Cluster. You mean cluster?
Yes.
So, cluster for climate change, all right?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Because Juba.
We have.
By the way, Juba.
Climate change headed by the vice president of the country.
Yeah, it looks like you just asked a question. We're streaming right now on a YouTube channel called Be Fantastic. That's BE space fantastic.
Okay. Sorry, let me put it like this.
Yeah.
I wish you to put this question in writing, and I will be responding you one by one in writing.
Yes, that would be great. That'd be great. And Wool, I want to invite you to be the admin to Juba is Fantastic, and help spread the 3 commitments to kindness.
Yes.
You are fantastic. We'll talk separately after my broadcast, okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so you saw a call in from South Sudan, Waul, from the city of Juba in South Sudan, former minister. I didn't catch what he was a minister of, but we have I'm proud to say we have 9,719 ambassadors of kindness around the world, trying to follow the 3 commitments to kindness. And those are: be kind to yourself, the hardest, most important commitment in life; be kind to all others, that stops wars, it stops violence, raping, killing, stealing, cheating, fighting, bullying, teasing, all the horrible things a man does; and be kind to our environment, be kind to Mother Earth. That's what this conference is all about. If 8 billion people use less toothpaste, use less water, use less electricity, buy less clothes, buy less stuff they don't need. I'm from Los Angeles. I used to pay $300 a month in storage of stuff I bought that I didn't use anymore. We need to use and buy less. Minimalism is the answer to helping the solution. Now, as you all might agree, climate change is a natural occurrence on the planet. It happens naturally. But we are aiding and abetting the warming of the earth with greenhouse emissions. I'm a believer in hydrogen. I think hydrogen, because it's in every inch of our atmosphere, H2O, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. That is a fantastic source. I don't believe in nuclear energy, because that has destroyed a lot of lives. I was at Chernobyl. I saw the damage that it did there. Fukushima is still leaking radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. So nuclear is dangerous. And geothermal, there's another great one. I'm here in Guatemala, and geothermal is a fantastic way. Let's get back to the world leaders. They're more important than me. We'll talk in a bit. Oh, shoot. Oh, darn. Let me see if we can get back to it now. YouTube. There we go. Back to the world leaders.
Planning and monitoring tools have been developed. In addition, far-reaching environmental programs have been integrated into teaching programs, into curricula, that is, in all levels of education, from primary to tertiary. Burundi aligns with the common position of the countries of the African continent and that of the LDCs. And in accordance with the 2030 agenda and the emerging Burundi agenda, emerging by 2040 and developed by 2060, ladies and gentlemen, Burundi would like to take this opportunity to ask the stakeholders involved in the implementation of the Paris Agreement to meet their obligations to support the countries most exposed to the impacts of climate change, including Burundi. In conclusion, the financing mechanisms, we would ask you to set up simplified processes which allow for easy access to climate funding so that the most vulnerable countries can tackle the effects of climate change as swiftly as possible. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Pedro Sanchez Perez Caston, President of the Government of Spain.
Spain.
Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, I've come to you to tell you a terrible truth, that we've known the science for so long, but still, some are still not accepting the fact that climate change kills. Last year, 300,000 people died, and it has just contributed to the death of over 220 of my compatriots in Spain, in the greatest natural disaster of our history. This disaster, which according to the first estimations would have been less likely and less intense without the effect of climate change. The planet, therefore, is giving us increasingly loud signals. And if we don't act in the near future, our countries will undergo more droughts, more heat waves, more torrential rain, more fires, and more illnesses. And many economic sectors will collapse. Hundreds of towns and peoples will become uninhabitable. And the sea rise and the temperature rises will mean that it will be impossible to live in those places. This existential threat is obvious to everyone. They're in the academic articles and on our screens and through our windows. But at this crucial time for our humanity, we are seeing many governments hesitate and slow down when they should be accelerating, speeding up the pace, picking up the pace, and some are even denying evidence and actually turning back. They are investing in oil. They are deregulating so that the rich can become richer, knowing full well that this formula will lead us all to disaster. We can therefore not allow this to happen. We know what the problem is. We also know what we have to do to resolve this problem. We don't need drastic measures. We need drastic measures. We need to transform. We need to change the way in which we create wealth and our relationship with the planet. We need to innovate. We need to undergo decarbonisation. We need to develop more material processes. We need to adapt our towns and our infrastructure and adapt ourselves to new realities, climate realities. So it's not all about giving up growth, but growing more responsibly. It won't be easy, but it's possible, because evidence tells us that in my country, Spain, this is what we are doing over the last few years. We've undergone an ecological transition. We have brought about modernisation. We've reduced by 40% our emissions and our consumption of natural resources. And at the same time, we have been the economy of the OECD, which has most grown in the last few years, and we can grow equitably and respect the planet. So don't listen to those who say that the transition is incompatible with the well-being of nations, or that it is bad for the middle classes and the lower classes, the working classes rather than the opposite. If we do not conquer sustainability, unless we do all of this, and if we do not live in tune with sustainability over the next 10 years, we will all fall. The first to suffer will be the middle class and the working classes, because they are the ones who work in the most threatened areas. And that's what happened in Spain, specifically in Valencia, where still some people remain unaccounted for, and many towns covered with mud. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, we must help victims. We must ensure that this does not happen again. We must ensure that natural disasters do not multiply or replicate.
Natural disasters are going to happen naturally.
We'll continue to ensure that before 2050 we are a carbon neutral economy, and that we will abide by international standards. But we will only succeed if we all do it, because we've only got one atmosphere, and all our climate patterns are interconnected. And we'll conclude with this. As one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, let us stop dragging our heels, denying science, and let us do what we promised to do 7 years ago in Paris. Let us save our citizens, let us save our economies, let us save the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Royal Highness Al Hussein bin Abdullah II, Crown Prince of Jordan. Your Royal Highness, you have the floor.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
President Ilham Aliyev and the people and government of Azerbaijan for hosting this important summit. We have gathered here under the banner of solidarity, the family of nations joining as one to protect the planet we share. We all know that without common action, we are destined to fall short. Yet, We meet at a moment when faith in our ability to stand together is broken. When global norms, including the UN Charter and the Geneva Conventions, are being flouted with impunity. When trust in the international community to stand up for its own values has collapsed. When humanitarian violations are broadcast daily for the whole world to see, yet continue to be ignored and dismissed without consequence. Saving our planet must start from the premise that all lives are worth saving. The solidarity we need depends on embracing that truth. Yet, over the past 13 months, the world has stood by as thousands of Palestinians have been killed in Gaza, the majority women and children. How can we work together for our shared future when some are deemed unworthy of one? The ongoing violence in my region undermines peace and security beyond its borders. In the end, this will benefit no one. My part of the world is already exposed to the harsh realities of climate change, to heat, to drought, to loss of biodiversity. The war is compounding environmental challenges for Gaza and beyond. A recent United Nations Environment Programme study highlighted contamination of land, water, and air. Sewage and waste management systems have been destroyed. Entire communities are now graveyards of debris. Another study found that rebuilding Gaza will result in total emissions higher than the annual emissions of more than 135 countries. An inclusive, just approach to the climate challenge requires that we address the links between climate, peace, and security. Nowhere is this clearer than among global refugee communities and their hosts, who are some of the most vulnerable to climate change. During COP27, His Majesty King Abdullah II launched the Global Climate Refugee Nexus Initiative. 58 countries have signed on to date, and we invite others to join. 1 in every 3 people living in Jordan is a refugee, and our infrastructure is feeling the strain. We face rising demand on stressed resources and services, including water, health, and education. And while we in Jordan have made significant strides in clean energy, water conservation, and climate-smart agriculture, these efforts are not enough. We need to rally communities around climate action and secure a better future for our youth and generations to come. In my country, we are implementing climate policies while grappling with the impacts of conflict. Yet, we can't solve these twin crises alone. As our summit works towards a new collective quantified goal, we must...
Okay, I've got an ambassador, number 8059, Sharif, who I'm going to call right now. He just texted in that there's a lot of people from Somalia that are there. So, Sharif.
Yes.
Hello, my friend.
How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Yes, sorry, I'm in a meeting right now. I don't know if I could get you back after a minute.
Okay, call me after the meeting and we'll talk.
Okay, we'll talk. Thank you. That's
Bye-bye.
great. Thank you.
That's our admin in Somalia, ambassador number 8059. In a meeting like everybody else should be. Everybody's working. 8 billion people on the planet, many of them working. And hopefully they're enjoying their job. Let's get back to world leaders. And let's see how many people more call in. I'm hoping people call in. This is fun.
Prioritize refugee hosting countries, especially those in climate hotspots, and ensure that global climate financing mechanisms uphold accountability and transparency for all.
Accountability, individual accountability is the answer. Use less. Use less of everything. You know, these world leaders are saying some really brilliant things. They're all saying the same thing. But we can't expect corporations and governments to fix the problem. We cause the problem. We use too much. We overuse, and We need to use less. Oh, I lost somebody there. They tune in for a second, then everyone has like a 5-second attention span.
Observers, fully aware, yet unwilling to act. As His Majesty King Abdullah has said, no one is a bystander in the fight for life on Earth. That means fighting against climate change,
I like that.
fighting for peace, and fighting to alleviate human suffering together. Because every life is worth fighting for.
I have to write that down.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Mia Amor Mortley, Prime Minister of Barbados. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. It is fitting that this 29th COP should take place here in this beautiful city of Baku, standing as it does as the sentinel between East and West doorway, between the global North and the global South, a bridge between the ancient, the modern, and indeed the future, with the majestic Caucasus Mountains behind us, reminding us of the heights that we must now scale in order to be successful in this process. We are in the midst of a climate crisis. We are in a season of superlatives. And the reality is that these extreme weather events that the world is facing daily suggest that humanity and the planet are hurtling towards catastrophe. The extreme...
One of my sayings is everything happens as it should, when it should. I decided to go live. As you saw earlier, I clicked on to see what was going on at COP, and I tuned into world leaders live talking. So this is pretty fantastic. I'm not sure if I came in the middle, towards the end, at the beginning, but let's see what our world leaders have to say.
Weather requires from us a serious commitment at this COP with respect to new collective quantified goals that enable us to reverse the current trajectory and to fund mitigation, adaptation, and of course loss and damage. This commitment must encompass 7 critical elements. 1, the proper capitalization of the loss and damage fund, and indeed the capitalization of the dedicated SIDS window in the just special climate change fund. The latter remains unfunded, and the first underfunded.
It's all about money. It always is.
The reality is that the loss and damage fund has only attracted $700 million, and this is despite the numerous crises besetting small island developing states, and indeed in our own region, Hurricane Beryl, which has caused serious damage to countries from housing to public infrastructure, and indeed from agriculture to fisheries in my own country. Secondly, proper capitalization of developing countries must also include and have access to cheaper, longer-term capital in circumstances where they can scale up investments for adaptation. Thirdly, the economic noose of tightening the fiscal space must be loosened by adopting the principles, in our view, of Bridgetown Initiative 3.0 through the delivery of urgently needed financial reforms. We must change the rules of the game, shock-proof vulnerable economies, and indeed review debt sustainability while at the same time augmenting resources. Fourthly, rich countries must deliver on their commitments. We must ensure, time and again, that the commitments made, whether for 0.7% of GNI, or indeed the $100 billion, or recently the $30 billion with respect to biodiversity, that these are met. We must have transparency and accountability on the part of everyone. Fifthly, we must agree in principle that developed countries and carbon producers can, in fact, along with others who are willing, help us find new money to augment the resources. We accept that the current commitments for public money may not be sufficient, and therefore we need to consider levies, as the Global Solidarity Levies Committee and Coalition is seeking to do. If we put
a $5 per ton on CO2 for fossil fuel extraction, we can raise $210 billion a year. If we put $100 per ton on CO2 for shipping, we can raise in excess of $80 billion a year. And we've not addressed aviation or indeed the elephant in the room at the 0.1% levy on all bonds and stocks that can raise us in excess of 400 billion. Sixthly, we need to deal with methane. Methane is responsible for 45% of current global warming and is 80 times as devilish as CO2 with respect to warming the planet. This makes it mitigation of methane the most effective way to slow the rate of warming in our world. And I trust and pray that we can have a global methane agreement, as Pope Francis led the call earlier this year, for us to see a parallel track to decarbonization. Finally, we need high-integrity carbon markets to ensure that there is fairness and that we need a universal carbon pricing mechanism to remove the disparity between countries in the north and south. My friends, every COP must make progress irrespective of the geopolitical dynamics. There is an urgent need to reform this COP process, and I hope that we can meet that as we go forward. As we leave this city of winds and land of fire, may we ensure that our ambitions are not only high, but our actions mimic the ambitions which we have, if we are to ensure that our people are not to be the victims of this awful climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Alexander De Croo, Prime Minister of Belgium. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam President, dear colleagues, this is not a time to falter. Emissions continue to rise and we see more and more destructive climate disasters. There is one certainty. If we do not alter our policies, we will see an increase of 3 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. Our citizens expect us to show a way out. They want us to collaborate on a faster and more resolute decarbonization and moving away from fossil fuels. We have to be ambitious in our goals, but effective and flexible in how to achieve them. Dear colleagues, meetings like these are often perceived as talking shops. And yes, these strenuous negotiations are far from perfect. But if you compare climate policy now to a decade ago, we live in different worlds. A strong majority has embarked on the journey to net zero. Yet, many challenges remain. The safest, cleanest, and cheapest energy is the one we do not use. We must do more on energy efficiency. It's a win-win. Investment in clean energy is increasing everywhere, but least developed countries are missing out. We are seeing massive amounts of renewable capacity being added to our grids, but interconnectivity and storage capacity have not followed the pace. In this climate challenge, there is no one silver bullet. There is not one solution that will fix all of our issues. We need to use everything we have. Not a policy of less, but a policy of more. More growth, more cooperation, more innovation, more investment, but affordable and achievable for everyone. This is our political objective in order to ensure a just transition. Citizens will buy electric cars and will insulate their homes, but only when it makes economic sense. Allow me as well to emphasize the importance of ensuring a just climate transition. Global competition needs to be fair. In this regard, Belgium and the EU will redouble efforts to strengthen the competitiveness and the sustainability of our economy. A just transition also matters domestically, as a transition for our economies should leave no one behind and should ensure the creation of high-quality jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, let us turn to the objectives for COP29. First, this must be the enabling COP. Let's implement what we agreed upon. Future national plans should align with the 1.5 degrees goal. Second, this is also the financing COP. The new collective quantified finance goal will be its most important deliverable. In reaching this goal, we should prioritize the needs of the least developed and the most vulnerable countries. And only when we mobilize private actors, we will reach the trillions of investments that are needed globally. Dear colleagues, Belgium has doubled its climate finance, given mostly in grants and focused on the least developed countries. On top of this, thanks to public guarantees, we mobilize an additional €500 million to developing countries. Belgium is also an adaptation champion. We have to redouble our efforts in adaptation to reduce the impact of climate change on planet and people. Adaptation is absolutely crucial to convince our citizens that we can make a difference in their lives and ensure their safety. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity could easily despair and lose hope. We could also lose ourselves in the complexity and the impossibility of the task at hand. However, we should find inspiration in what we have achieved so far. Let's create a context where these solutions become accessible to everyone. Only then COP29 will be a success. Let's make this happen. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain.
Emmanuel, welcome to the show. Hello. How are you, my friend? So everyone, we have Emmanuel from Sierra Leone, our director in the country. He's ambassador number 2,494. How are you, Emmanuel?
I'm fine. I thank God to see another day.
Yes, every day on the top side of the grass is fantastic. Do you have many friends at the COP29?
Due to financial constraint, the one who fortunate to be travel, he did not have support and then to fund his own trip.
Yeah, it's all about money. It's very expensive to go to these conventions. As you know, I was in COP27. You've been an ambassador for a long time, at ambassador number 2,494. We have 9,700 plus now. Have you been using the word fantastic in your life since becoming an ambassador?
Yeah, sure. Everything was fantastic. Even up to date, everything was fantastic. And everything we do is so fantastic.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. How is climate change affecting people in Sierra Leone?
The climate change, the condition of it was so rough at the moment that makes even the plantation doesn't go well. It makes the country to look somehow things difficult because farmers are not getting their commodity. They have been yearning for to get from the farmer. So there is a lot of loss. There is a lot of losses in the investments of those who do farming investments due to climate change. Because if you plant corn, you don't have a huge harvest due to climate change. Those who plant rice, the rice damage due to climate change, cassava, tomatoes, or okra, so etc. Granules, they are badly damaged and then destroyed by the weather condition due to climate change. See, as I'm talking to you now, the climate has already been changed at the moment, so the nation are not doing well, they're not going well. See. So
well,
there's a lot of damage regarding towards that, which lead to struggle, which leads farmers to frustration, disappointment, worry, stress, depression, and then it makes them to traumatize. Yes, I have a lot of farmers that I live close with, they feel traumatized and they get sleepless night. So, I'm among them because I plant tomatoes, do farming to see how best I can be able to support the poorest orphan kids that live in extremely poverty, especially orphans that lost both parents. But for this year, climate change was not in favor of us as well with farmers. So you see, everything that we go, it's never, everything that we plant, it never go well. So you see, it leads to destruction. See.
Yeah, you know, you're a director in Sierra Leone. Thank you for taking the effort and the time to help spread our philosophy and our kindness revolution. I do want to schedule a Zoom call with you when you have a good signal, and interview you for my my podcast. Have you been watching my podcast, The Complete Guide to Happiness?
Yes, of course. I take my time to take a look at all the videos that you send to me and in the group as well. And then I also subscribe and like them.
Fantastic. Now, as director, you've got some cities in Sierra Leone underneath you, right? And you're encouraging them to invite people in, yes?
Yes, we are doing that gradually. As time goes on, we are going to have massive people joining the platform or the group platform called Fantastic.
Great. Music to my ears. Because the more people that follow the 3 commitments to kindness, the better the world will be. Now, did you read my speech to the United Nations?
Yes, of course. That's going to be the reason that we'll keep spreading your information around the world. And then we're sending Dr. Fantastic YouTube link around the world to all the group that we are. And then I'm trying to spread the information in Sierra Leone globe. Like every Sierra Leonean will know much about this Dr. Fantastic.
That's great. Let's make Sierra Leone the most popular kindness country in Africa. Let's do that.
I give you my word, not a promise.
Okay, that's even better because all we have is our word. You know, there's a lot of crooks out there and they can sign contracts all day long, but your word is more valuable than your signature, in my opinion. Remind me what city you're in Sierra Leone?
Sorry, sometimes I don't get too loud.
No problem. Yeah,
not
not a problem. What city are you in Sierra Leone? What's your city?
Freetown, Sierra Leone, the capital city of Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Freetown.
Capital city of the country.
Right.
Freetown, yeah.
I apologize that I don't remember everybody's city, but with 9,700 ambassadors, you know, it gets a little confusing. But you're an early one. You've been with the group for a long time. I'm very happy that you're still with us. 24. You're 2494. That's a great number.
Wow.
And you know, we don't have enough in Sierra Leone or Freetown. You know, we have a small number. The ambassadors in Sierra Leone, Freetown, and the other cities should be in the tens of thousands.
Yes, very soon everything will going to be fantastic. As I'm telling you, we are going to have a huge number of Sierra Leoneans to join the group platform. I'm working on that gradually.
Okay.
So it's gonna be
all we need, Emmanuel. All we need, and the children. See, it's really important, Emmanuel, is the children, that we educate the children on the 3 commitments with the Global Kindness Pledge. Did you send in a selfie yet of the Global Kindness Pledge?
Yes, of course. But due to my formidable team I'm working with, I respect their words and then their opinions as well. They asked me to say, "Oh, Emmanuel, we don't understand more about this Dr. Fantastic. We want you to come after your conference workshop. When you come, we are going to do it together."
Yes, let's
do so that we educate the children and then teach them about Dr. Fantastic.
Okay.
Do what you want to do about
Wonderful.
the kids together.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to set up a webinar. I don't mind going live and talking to all your followers, all our followers in Sierra and Freetown. So I'd be happy to do a Zoom call with them or a WhatsApp webinar, however you want to arrange it. I'll be there for you virtually. I want to see you make Sierra Leone a massive movement of ambassadors of kindness.
That's I'm great to be here. I'm super excited about that.
Remind me your profession, Emmanuel.
Okay.
What's your profession, Emmanuel?
Hello?
Yeah, what is your profession, Emmanuel? Looks like we lost Emmanuel. See, when I hear that, that's music to my ears. I love the fact that they're getting it. I don't get a lot of feedback, so I don't know. Okay, so that was pretty cool. Let's get back to the world leaders. I'm sure they're missing us.
Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Whoa, what
Your
time?
Excellency, you have the floor.
Great timing on that one.
Thank you very much. The United Kingdom is determined to stand alongside those countries on the front line of the climate crisis today and to seize the opportunities of tomorrow. Because action on climate now is the route towards economic growth, energy security, better jobs, and national security in the long term. To deliver on the Paris Agreement and keep 1.5 degrees within reach. In the first 100 days of my government, we launched Great British Energy to create clean British power. We created a national wealth fund to invest in the green industries and jobs of the future. We scrapped the ban on onshore wind, committed to no new North Sea oil and gas licenses, and closed the UK's final coal power plant at the end of September, becoming the first G7 economy to phase out coal power, in line with the international agreement at COP29 to transition from fossil fuels, and the UK's ambitious goal to be the first major economy to deliver clean power by 2030. Today, I can confirm 3 months ahead of the deadline the UK's 2035 international target, our nationally determined contribution to reduce all greenhouse gas emissions by at least 81% on 1990 levels, aligned with 1.5 degrees. And we urge all parties to come forward with ambitious targets of their own, as we all agreed at the last COP. We will work in partnership to support other countries to develop their own commitments and transition through our forthcoming Global Clean Power Alliance. And finance will be its first focus. We will honour the commitment made by the previous government to provide £11.6 billion of climate finance between April 2021 and March 2026. But we must use public finance as a multiplier to unlock much more private investment
and reform our international financial institutions. Today, we launched the new SIF capital market mechanism listed on the London Stock Exchange with the potential to mobilize up to 70.
See, everybody should invest in all the companies that are doing fantastic jobs at COP29 and all the COPs. These people are recycling, they're renovating, they're doing amazing things for the environment. We should all invest in those companies, talking about investment.
$5 billion in additional climate capital for developing countries over the next decade, putting the UK's role as a global financial centre at the service of driving the green finance and green energy transitions. Climate action is at the heart of this government's mission for the protection and prosperity of Britain and the world, writ large across our domestic and international priorities. We are taking the urgent action needed to protect our planet and its people. Thank you very much.
It's very inspiring to hear these speeches that were written by professionals, and they're very eloquent, and they hit home and they're short.
Mr. Viktor Orbán, Prime Minister of Hungary. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank President Aliyev for hosting this important conference. Azerbaijan is a key partner for Europe in reaching our climate goals, making it the ideal place to host today's conference. Last week, Budapest hosted the European Political Community Summit and the European Council Summit as well. Almost 50 heads of state and government gathered in Budapest, where European leaders adopted a new declaration on competitiveness. The Budapest Declaration will shape the European Union's approach to climate issues as well. Our mission is to make Europe more competitive, and we approach climate protection with this vision in our mind. We are proud that Hungary is among the few countries of the world in the recent years which has been able to enhance its economic performance parallel to decreasing its emissions. We cannot sacrifice our industry or agriculture in this process. We must continue advancing the green transition while also maintaining our use of natural gas, oil and nuclear energy. The price of climate change should not be paid by our farmers. Farmers are the backbone of our economy and society. We must offer them stability and predictability to thrive. We cannot impose unrealistic quotas or burdensome rules on farmers and companies, but should offer practical support for them. The green transition and the fight against climate change should not be done against the business community, but together with it. We need clear financial guarantees and significant investment. Large corporations must contribute their fair share to climate protection. Our climate policy should be guided by careful consideration and common sense, not by ideology, alarmism, or panic. It should align with the opinion and interest of European citizens. In Hungary, we are also positioning ourselves to be a significant player in electric vehicle development and electricity storage. We continue to invest into our already robust nuclear industry, increasing its share to 70% when it comes to supplying our own electric demand. And geographically, we play a key role in energy transit between East and West. Hungary stands out in Europe with the lowest utility cost for citizens, while also achieving one of the highest rates of green energy expansion over the past several years. We are a leader in economically sustainable climate protection, ranking fourth among EU countries for reducing carbon emissions per unit of energy produced. Looking ahead, we have set even more ambitious goals by 2030. We aim not just for a 40% reduction in greenhouse emission, but for 50%. I firmly believe that by working together, we can balance ambition with pragmatism establishing Europe as a global leader in climate action, with compromising the prosperity of our industries and agriculture. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Distinguished heads of state and government, delegates, honored guests, this brings us to the end of our national statements for today. We will continue with the delivery of national statements tomorrow at 10:00 hours in this plenary. With this, I declare this joint meeting of the COP, CMP, and the CMA adjourned.
There you go. That was pretty fantastic. We caught a lot of them. That was interesting. So, and we had a few callers. We spent almost 2 hours here on online live. I'm sure no one's watched it. If you've watched this, you are one fantastic person. I'd love you to be part of the Be Fantastic philosophy, the kindness revolution, and follow the 3 commitments to kindness. Become an admin or a director in your country. We're only going to have 195 directors, and we are on a mission to save the planet from the insanity of humanity. And there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, but if we all take accountability of our actions by being kind to others and being kind to our planet, and most importantly, being kind to ourselves, we're going to have a fantastic future. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day. End. Oh, end. There it is. End. Edit settings. No. Yeah. End. Bye-bye.